and welcome to Talk 90s to Me, where we always team our white jeans with a gold-buttoned, double-breasted jacket. We never wear skirts without 10 denier tights, and our choice of workout trainers is a Reebok Freestyle High. Yes, fashion spotters, today we will be talking about Princess Diana and her 90s style, and most particularly the high point of her revenge dress. I'm Miranda Sawyer, and today I am delighted to talk to a woman who is not only steeped in the coolest of British 90s fashion, but who also understands how the upper echelons work, and more importantly, what they like to wear. The brilliant Plum Sykes worked with Isabella Blow, modelled for Alexander McQueen, wrote and still writes for both British and American Vogue, and has given us several hilarious novels about the rich and nutty, including her latest, Wise Like Us, which is set in the Cotswolds. Hello, Plum.
Hello, dearest.
You are in Wise Like Us territory right now. I can see it.
Yeah, I'm in my farm in the Cotswolds, very high point on the Cotswold Hills. It's absolutely beautiful. And just come in from riding, as I've just told you. So I'm in my really grotty riding top and no makeup and whatever. But I'm in the Cotswolds and Gloucestershire, which was a royal stomping ground for Lady Di in the 90s.
Was it?
Well, Highgrove, which is Charles's sort of palatial mansion down here, is very near here, Tetbury.
Yeah.
And that's where, obviously, they brought their children at the weekends and things. It was very, very beautiful around there.
So we have proper royal connections. This is good. Okay, so look, this is about Diana, and we will take a look at the revenge dress. But the revenge dress is in 94, and I want to kind of just go back to the beginning of the 90s, if you can remember her then. Can you summarise her style in the early 90s? Because if we think about Lady Di, Princess Di in the 80s, she was quite, I would use the word frumpy. Like, she wore various jumpers, there was lots of, there was that black sheep jumper she would wear. She would wear quite long, flowing skirts. She moved into kind of like enormo hair, George Michael style. But to me, that was still quite frumpy. Once she gets into the early 90s, she kind of changes a bit, though, doesn't she? She gets a bit cooler, would we say?
I mean, I think cool is a sort of relative with her. I don't think she was cool at all. I think that she was a very, very pretty, posh, Sloane girl who managed to, as she became more and more famous and photographed, actually, became much more polished. Her style really... Her style, because I think people's style just is what it is, and I think it's like your personality. It doesn't really change. So if your style is quite Sloane-y, which is what I think her style was, she was the ultimate 1980s posh Sloane Ranger girl. And actually, the way that she dressed in the 90s was just a much more polished Sloane Ranger style, and she didn't actually reflect fashion at all, I don't think. And when I was working at British Vogue in the early 90s, I went there in 1993, and Kate Moss was on the cover in that incredible Corinne Day shoot where she was kind of wearing like a pair of knickers and a scruffy vest with some fairy lights twisted around her neck, or sort of on the back. Sorry, not around her neck. What am I talking about?
No, it was on the wall, wasn't it?
On the wall. We can all remember that. That was what was happening in fashion. That was not what Princess of Wales was wearing, because obviously she couldn't wear those kind of things to like an engagement or a royal outing or a charity presentation. She had to look, even though I can't remember the date she got divorced, you can probably remember, but even when she got divorced, she still was Lady Diana. She was the Princess of Wales. She had a very public facing role for a long time. And so she had to dress for a public facing role as a sort of very, very posh, rich English woman. But that still wasn't trendy.
No, it wasn't fashion.
It wasn't fashion, and it wasn't trendy, because the trend at the time was like Cathy Castorine roaming around Portobello Market buying nighties to wear, which of course is where the slip dress, which was the big John Galliano thing that he did for Dior, came from. And then of course Lady Di wore a very elevated version of that slip dress by Dior to the Met Ball, and I think it was about 1996. Dark blue with lace. But that was probably her ultimate fashion moment. But at the end of the day, even in the slip dress, she still looked like a posh Sloane girl.
Okay.
Because that's what she is. That's her essence.
If you were going to describe a kind of, I agree with you completely. If you're going to describe a Sloane look in that time, which she epitomised, what would you say? Because I've got some thoughts on this, because I think she does some Sloane bits really well and some not so well.
Well, they sort of, I mean, Sloane Rangerdom, as you know, I'm a student of the Sloane Ranger handbook. So that was like major reading material, late 80s, early 90s, was a shirt with what's called a pie crust collar, like a frilly collar and maybe pearl buttons, a cardigan or a twin set type cardigan, some pearls, sometimes over the pie crust collar. I mean,
quite weird.
Hideous. With a pleated skirt with maybe polka dots on it, with, wait for it, some kind of like ballet flat, or actually ballet flats are quite chic, but so they had a few chic things. And then maybe an Hermes scarf tied round as well.
Yeah.
And then maybe a sort of Longchamp, bag. But nothing was cool. It was all about a sort of country lady style in town. It wasn't meant to be urban. And then obviously when they went to the country, it was all tweeds, breeches, riding clothes, which actually are always kind of rather fabulous because they never change.
And they're like a uniform, aren't they? They're a similar kind of thing.
They're a uniform, And I actually think that when you see pictures of her and she was like out on the polo field in like, a stripy blouse and a pair of joggers, whatever, she looked completely fabulous because she was being herself. Yeah. But when she's dressed up in those sort of, the pale pink two-piece suits with a miniskirt, I mean, the funny thing is, she looked really good, but she didn't look cool.
No. I mean, she always looked good because she's incredibly good looking. So, that's just
she was very, very beautiful. Yeah. But she didn't have the kind of taste that sort of Kate Middleton has, I don't think. I think Kate Middleton's got incredible taste. And she didn't have the taste of Grace Kelly, or she just didn't come from that. She came from, a very, very posh country family where they would have worn jumpers with sheep embroidered on them at Christmas Day.
I quite like that jumper, I have to say. I would stick up for that jumper, but not the pie crust collars and definitely not the skirts. The skirts are very, very bad.
But the funny thing as well is that while you can be sort of untrendy and uncool, which I think she was, but she was clearly, I always thought she was probably a very nice person, actually. I just got that vibe. She sort of looked sweet. You can still be iconic. Like, Liberace wore the most revolting clothes, but it was iconic. Elvis had no taste, but it's iconic because they are who they are. And I think the reason she's iconic is because she wasn't trendy and she was just being herself. And even when she was restyled by, Mario Testino for Vanity Fair in 97, those incredible pictures, it was just a very slick, polished version of her.
Yeah, that's very true. One of the things I really like, there's certain aspects of Sloane style that I just can't stand. And actually, you've described all the ones that I don't like. But there's a certain element of Sloane style that I'm here for, right? And there are photos of Diana rocking a particular style that I quite like. And that is a really kind of quite slim jeans, right? Mm-hmm. Sometimes white, sometimes not. She wears a belt on them, which I'm not that happy about. And then quite shoulder paddy, double-breasted jacket, quite big, maybe with gold buttons on, and then with ballet shoes, right? That look for me, it's quite masculine, which is like my preference anyway. So I think that's why I like it. But she looks great like that. She looks like she's just, going to hammer up the King's Road, get a bit drunk. Do you know what I mean? She looks absolutely brilliant. Enormous glasses, sunglasses. That's a strong look. Yeah, and
it's sort of casual glamour, and it's a classic look. And it's the kind of thing like Jane Birkin wore it and Kate Moss wore it and everyone wore in the 90s. Liz Hurley, the white jeans, the ballet flats, and, the blazer of some kind. Yeah. I'm not mad about shoulder pads, so we obviously differ a tiny bit there, Miranda. But
no, I'm not mad on shoulder pads, but that look is really strong.
Right. Yes. And I agree with you. It is a strong look. I think sometimes with these women who could wear anything they want, right? They can pretty much buy and afford anything they want. You would say, God, if you're going to do that look, you could have got it all from, you could have got the jacket from McQueen but she didn't. She got the jacket from, I don't know, like Caroline Charles, who were these very staid British designers. And I think, and people like Bruce Oldfield, who's a very good designer. And I think that she was brilliant because she did go to the British designers. But when the new ones came along in the 80s, like Hussein and Alexander, who were brilliant tailors, and she could have had all of that, and which Kate Middleton obviously embraced, she didn't go there.
Yeah, they were also edgy. So, like, if you think about somebody like Alexander McQueen or Hussein Chalayan, who both came out in the 1990s, especially McQueen, who you know and we can talk about, but like that was really, really far too edgy for a royal. The reason why Kate Middleton can wear it now is because it's kind of been around for a long time. Do you know what I mean? It's become almost like a heritage brand, whereas in the 90s it was absolutely seen as a kind of punky brand.
Well, the thing is, he was very good at making it seem kind of, wild and punky because he wanted to get on the front of the Daily Mail, and that was his plan, and he did it. But in reality, when you went into the shop, it was impeccably cut jackets, and that's how he built his business on the tailoring. And tailoring is classic.
Yeah.
So actually, it's not very edgy. It's really, really old fashioned. But sometimes people can't see past the edgy image.
Yeah.
So she didn't really embrace new designers in a way that Kate Middleton does, and Kate was quite brave to do that, I think. I'm trying to think which other designers she wore that were...
I've got some written down because I don't know who they are, and you can explain who they are.
Go on.
Okay. This person called Jacques Azougari. Who's that?
So Jacques Azougari was I believe he was French.
Yeah, he sounds French.
But he was based in London. He had a shop on Knightsbridge, so that tells you a lot. It was very 80s, and he sold, sort of demi-couture, so semi-perfectly handmade, not like Paris couture, evening gowns and suits.
Okay.
Like the grand ladies of London would have, or the ladies who lunched would have gone and bought his suits and jackets, but it was not trendy. Like, we did not put it in Vogue.
No, not at all. I've never heard of it. Absolutely never heard of it. It's like a kind of boring version of Chanel.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose so. But to a certain English lady, it was Chanel.
Oh, I see.
An English lady sometimes doesn't want to be as chic as Chanel because they're a bit embarrassed about being a bit too sharp and a bit too chic, because then people think they're aggressive or a bit ambitious or whatever. It's ridiculous. But,
ambitious? Oh, my goodness. Perish the thought.
Shock, horror.
What about Catherine Walker? Who is that?
Catherine Walker's similar story. She was obviously a female designer. She had a shop on, I think it was Beach and Place. So again, Knightsbridge. There was a real sort of Knightsbridge boutique thing that was going on there. And Bruce Oldfield also had a boutique on Beach and Place. So it's all very close to Harrods. It was all like Walton Street, Harrods, Beach and Place, Pont Street, Sloane Street, Cadogan Gardens, which is now, it's just a very expensive kind of residential area, really, and you wouldn't dream of going to shops on Beach and Place. But then that was it. And it was all next door to San Lorenzo, where Lady Di used to go for lunch the whole time. So
literally ladies who lunch?
Totally. Yeah. It was for them. It was for the Knightsbridge ladies who lunch. And I think the Knightsbridge then was a sort of cool place.
Was it, though?
Yeah, now, no, it was. I remember thinking, oh my God, they've got a flat in Knightsbridge. Oh, I want to marry them, And now it would be Holland Park.
Right. Okay, I get you.
You know what I mean? Or it would be Dawson Place.
Yeah. Yeah. So those clothes that we've just described, so like, I still can't pronounce it. Jacques Azougari, did you say?
Jacques Azougari.
See, can't do it.
I might be wrong.
And Catherine Walker. They were like a kind of low-key, a bit boring version of fashion, right? But for ladies.
Dressing up. Yeah. Formal dressing. Almost like formal dressing, not even fashion, really.
Yeah, yeah.
Because fashion has to be about the future and it has to be about trends, and they weren't interested in that. They're very, very safe dressmaker, very high-end dressmakers.
Yeah.
They wouldn't have had runway shows or anything like that, as far as I know.
Yeah.
Maybe Bruce Oldfield would have, maybe, but it was a different time, it was a different scene. And also remember, when these designers were making clothes for these ladies to go for their lunches or their engagements, whatever, those ladies weren't being photographed every 5 seconds. They weren't. I mean, Diana was photographed, but probably nothing compared with what would have happened to her today.
So look, you were working in Vogue in the early 90s, and you were an assistant for Isabella Blow, who's like this amazing stylist who worked with McQueen, incredibly kind of iconic figure. When you were working there, I mean, you know, I think it's fair to say that Isabella Blow was pretty eccentric, wasn't she?
Unbelievably eccentric.
Do you want to describe her to people that maybe didn't know about her, don't know about her?
So Isabella, known as Izzy Blow, was you call a fashion stylist, a creative director. She would style for magazines. She would bring inspiration to designers. And she was also a sort of maven, and she discovered a lot of young designers. And she also discovered a lot of people who became very famous models, like, for example, Sophie Dahl, Alexander McQueen, Hussein Chalayan, Philip Treacy. These are all people that she brought on and brought to British Vogue and said, look, publish this person in the magazine, help make their business grow. And she really sort of supported people in a way that was very rare back then. People in magazines didn't really do that. And I saw it much more when I moved to American Vogue. I saw much more that Anna Wintour was going to champion people, and she was going to help them get business deals. She was going to sort it out. But British magazines weren't like that. But Izzy was like that. And interestingly, she'd been Anna Wintour's assistant prior.
Right. So she understood that.
She understood it. She always used to say to me this really fun thing. She's like, when I got the job at American Vogue, she said, you're going to love it, American Vogue, Plum, because they're so rich. And I was like, oh, great. She went, in fact, they were so rich that we used to wash our desks with Perrier water. Which was such a hilarious idea. That showed how wealthy he was.
And she wore quite mad things herself, didn't she?
Yeah. So she would wear very avant-garde, extreme fashion. She would wear like Rei Kawakubo, who was the designer behind Comme des Garçons, which was a very directional 80s Japanese designer, or Yohji Yamamoto. Again, like in the 80s, that was the other thing that was happening, was these deconstructionist designers coming out of Japan who were hugely influential, but there was no way that, you know, Lady Di was going to wear that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Izzy was, a sort of extreme fashion leader. And I worked for her as her assistant for kind of like 6 or 8 months or something. And then I actually went and worked for the fashion writing department at British Vogue because I really wanted to be a writer. I didn't really want to be a stylist. But I remained very, very good friends with Izzy for the rest of her life, actually.
Given that you were working for Isabella Blow, you knew Alexander McQueen, these people were kind of... I hate to use this word, but like it is true, kind of cutting edge of fashion. They knew what they were doing. You were working for Vogue. When you were working in that environment, what was the Vogue's attitude towards Princess Diana? I mean, was she just seen as an interesting figure, meaning she was interesting because she was getting divorced? I mean, I'm not saying that she was interesting.
Oh, we weren't interested in that. No. We weren't. We couldn't have been less interested in that. We're just only interested in clothes.
So she was down your list because her clothes were no good.
She wasn't even... I mean, this is the weird thing, is it's only now, looking back, because I was only, 24?
Yeah.
25? I was like, oh, this is some royal lady wearing frumpy clothes. Just wasn't on a radar. We were concerned about, in the magazine, we weren't interested in personal gossip about people, funnily enough. Like Vogue is not a gossipy magazine at all, really. It's actually the opposite. It's only about style.
Yeah.
So we're only interested in style. So we're like, have you got style or have you not got style? Okay, if you've got style, you can be in the magazine. If you haven't, naff off, darling. Be in the Sunday Times. It's fine.
Yeah.
So it was just very easy, very simple. So she wasn't really someone we cared about. But what I was always amazed by was that your woman on the street worshipped her and thought she was unbelievably glamorous. And she was unbelievably glamorous, but they also believed that glamour equaled style, but I don't believe it does. I mean, Dolly Parton's glamorous, but I don't think she's particularly well dressed. Do you know what I mean?
She's Dolly dressed. We cannot diss Dolly.
Yeah, she's an icon.
Yeah, she's an absolute icon.
So we were very sort of, I mean, Vogue UK and Vogue USA, the mindset is, are you fashionable? Are you chic? Are you beautiful? Are you interesting? Aesthetically? is your taste cutting edge or in some way exceptional? That's what we're interested in. We weren't really interested in, people who weren't doing that. And it also, because it was a very, very, very cutting edge time in London, there was so much to be concerned with that was really fun and really interesting. So we just were all concerned with that. And all the people like Pat McGrath and Charlotte Tilbury, and they're all starting off.
Yeah, makeup people.
It was amazing fun. And all the photographers like Tim Walker were starting, and it was just an amazing, amazing time. Of course, at the time, I just thought, oh, everyone's idiots. We're all idiots. But they turned out to be quite good.
That's very true. So look, should we talk Diana's revenge dress? We've kind of established that she hasn't really got her own style. It's maybe like on the frumpy edge. It kind of has to be for work, but also that's just the way that she is.
Yeah, she's a glamorous Sloane.
A glamorous Sloane. We can allow that. She looks lovely.
Definitely.
Glamorous Sloane.
She's very glamorous, yeah. Very beautiful.
So throughout the 90s, there's also this kind of underlying story of her and Charles, which is essentially, they married in 1981. She was pregnant within kind of months. She has William in 82. She has Harry 84. In kind of by 1986, everything's gone wrong. She's having a relationship with James Hewitt. Charles has gone back with Camilla. So it's kind of on the rocks by the time that we hit the 90s. And they separate in 1992. There's an Andrew Morton book called Diana, Her True Story. There is, do you remember this? While I was researching it, really kind of made me laugh. Do you remember all these phone calls that were leaked? There was like her on the phone with James Gilby, and he called her Squidgy, and that was called Squidgy Gate. That was leaked to the tabloids. Yeah. And then that was in 92. And then in 1993, there's Charles talking to Camilla, and where he talks about he wanted to be her tampon, which is just appalling. That's Tampon Gate. So this is all over the papers. Their relationship is all over the papers, the fact that it's breaking down. Okay, so in 1994, she is invited to a gala hosted by Vanity Fair. It's June the 29th. It's at the Serpentine Gallery, right? And she turns up in this particular dress. And the reason why it's called a revenge dress is at the same time that this gala is going on, Charles is on the telly talking to Jonathan Dimbleby about the fact that his relationship has broken down. So she is absolutely drawing attention away. She's saying, you might be talking about the fact that, our relationship is over, that that the divorce is going to happen, etc., but I'm looking fab at this gala. Do you want to describe what she wore?
So she's wearing, she wore a sort of very fashionable look at the time, off the shoulder.
Yeah.
Do you remember? Everything was off the shoulder.
She's got great shoulders.
It's like a sort of, slim, just above the knee, slightly asymmetric hem. It's got a sort of flowing train. It's very, very glamorous. And then she's got a great big pearl choker with a great big jewel. She's got great big pearls on her ears, the size of tea bags. I don't know how they made those. And a sort of really chic little clutch bag, and her nails are bright red. And then the typical 80s, I mean, I know it's 1994, but there's a lot of hangovers from the 80s in this picture. Black opaque tights, black suede heels. And yeah, everyone said, this is her revenge. Looking fabulous is the best revenge. And I suppose, I'm sure it was very well thought out, because I think by that point, she really did know the power of fashion in the media, because by that point, she really was photographed so much. Whereas I think at the beginning, she was just being Sloane Lady Di, wasn't she?
Exactly.
Getting into her mini and the ballet flats and the hippie, the Sloane skirts and things. But by this point, she was very polished, and she was sending out a message, wasn't she?
Definitely. And the person who designed it is, again, somebody I don't know, called Christina Stambolian.
Now, I have to say, I've never heard of that name either.
It's so weird, isn't it? I've just never heard of this person. And what had happened is that she basically had made this dress for Diana. Diana obviously has lots of dresses made for her. had shoved it in her wardrobe, or somebody had shoved it in her wardrobe. I presume a minion had put it in her beautiful wardrobe. And then 3 years go by. She doesn't wear this dress. So this person that we've never heard of before, Christina Stambolian, is really, really disappointed. And then, obviously, because you've made this fab dress.
Probably gone out of business by the time the dress came out.
Yeah, exactly. So Diana's initially going to wear a Valentino dress, and then what she was going to wear got leaked to the press somehow. It just makes me think maybe she leaked it, but I don't know. And she digs out this fab dress and wears this. And there's almost something brilliant about that, because it isn't Versace, it isn't Valentino, it isn't somebody that everybody knows, it's somebody that nobody's really heard of, which makes it even more her dress. Do you know what I mean? It's not like she's part of a kind of, this is the latest look from this amazing designer.
No, that's true. I think that's true. And it's very much in her sort of, couture-y, posh lady style. You know, it's not, she looks, she looks good and all the rest of it. But you're right. It's not a sort of uber fashion moment. It's more like, this is my power. This is my strength. I'm in a killer black dress and my killer heels, and it's sort of about her. And the dress actually doesn't detract from her, because she does look amazing in her face in that picture, doesn't she?
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't really like her hair. I've never really liked Diana's hair, other than when she slicks it back. But like her hair isn't fantastic, but she just looks. She looks glorious, doesn't she? She looks absolutely brilliant. And I think also because the photos are of her moving as well. So she's not just standing still looking demure. She's kind of slightly, she's walking, she's smiling, she's like doing rather than just being.
I mean, the thing about her is I always think this, particularly when I look back now, and I was definitely in my 20s, I was like, oh gosh, so frumpy, so square. But she had an unbelievably photogenic face, and you cannot find a bad picture of her face. And think when we have pictures taken of us, we always look revolting and everything. And it's so rare, that thing of someone who is so photogenic and so beautiful.
Yeah.
She really was, radiant looking woman. She had the most amazing skin and the most amazing figure. And I remember actually there was a event that American Vogue did. I think it was do you remember when she sold her wardrobe?
That was the reason why she did the 1997 amazing Vanity Fair pictures, which is where I think she looks brilliant and her hair is slicked back. It's because she's selling like 49 dresses.
Yeah.
I think it's 79 dresses actually. And all the money is going to AIDS charities.
Yeah.
And so the kind of pictures of her in Vanity Fair, where she looks absolutely fantastic, they're taken by Mario Testino. She just looks like unbelievable. That's to kind of promo that.
Yeah. And I remember there was a party that I think it must have been American Vogue or Condé Nast or something did it, because I remember seeing her in New York at this party, because, one of the perks of the job was we got invited to all the parties. Well, we probably ended up having to write an article about it the next day, but we didn't really care. And she was there, and I think she was wearing that sort of pale blue beaded dress with a sort of scoop neckline and beads on it. And I just remember seeing her and thinking, oh my God, wherever she moves, a sort of swarm of like 50 or 100 people would move with.
Wow.
Because people were obsessed with her in America. And it was like she was this glowing golden blonde thing in the middle. And that was the thing I was really amazed, because I, whenever this was 97, when that happened, before she was killed, I hadn't really taken that much notice of her, to be honest, really, really and truly, because I wasn't really concerned with that. But seeing her, I was like, wow, this woman's got some real power going on.
Yeah, she's got power, and kind of at that point in 97, you kind of felt that she had a bit of presence as well, really. There are some other looks I want to talk about her, right? So there's ones that have keep kind of popping up now, right? Which is her exercise look. And that was essentially, she would wear a big sweatshirt, and it might have something quite boring on it, like Virgin Airways or something like that. She would wear kind of cycling shorts, and then she would wear kind of, socks, but quite longish sports socks, and really odd trainers, I have to say. but she would wear like...
I'm looking at them now. Yeah, they are.
She would
odd,
wear
aren't they?
like literally the Air Max Pulse, which nobody ever wore, and Reebok Freestyle High and Aerostep Pro. Those are Reeboks, and they're all kind of high top, very weird trainers. But she would always wear the same thing because she didn't like getting photographed in her exercise clothes. So she'd wear the same outfit every time in the hope that the paparazzi would leave her alone. Of course, they didn't. And now because she wore it so consistently, now it's become like that's one of people's favourite looks. Of Diana.
I know. I remember sort of reading about that at the time and thinking, oh, she's quite sensible. She's not giving them any more fodder for the newspapers, because if you're in the same outfit, there's no news. You can't, as a newspaper editor, you can't keep running a picture of a person wearing the same clothes because it's too boring for people to look at. So she was quite sort of wily. But the irony, of course, is it became more and more iconic because it became more and more associated with her. This is her look, the great big sweater and sweatshirt, which of course is what every single teenager now wants to look like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
The
Definitely.
great big baggy man sweatshirt.
Yeah, and also I think the little lycra shorts, I mean, she obviously wasn't doing that, but it does, for me, reference like early rave when people were just wearing kind of like a bra and cycling shorts. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, very,
and high tops.
Yeah, no, I remember when cycling shorts were a new thing and they were trendy, and I think this is probably sort of echoing that a little bit without her really intending it. But she did have amazing legs, though. She didn't mind showing those off.
She definitely didn't. That's why I think she quite often would wear kind of shouldery things, like her jackets would be quite big and shouldery. I think this is maybe a knock-on from the 80s. And then something that emphasised her really long legs. So she would look kind of almost like an inverted triangle. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So she was kind of, her proportions were flattering all of her best assets, basically.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. No, totally. I think she had quite a sort of very sporty, athletic figure, really.
Yeah, very true. Yeah. So when you were in New York and you were in 97 and you saw Diana in that environment, I kind of felt, I mean, it was obviously a complete tragedy that she died, but in 97, she was really stepping into her own. She seemed happier. She was like, she looked fabulous in that kind of Vanity Fair cover. She was, obviously hanging out with Dodi Fayed. So kind of like having a bit more of a glitzy life rather than a boring royal life. Do you know what I mean?
Yes. And I think that the clothes reflected that, and that Vanity Fair shoot and all the clothes that she wore and probably all the stylists that were involved and Mario and everything. I mean, it was like a style reset for her. And definitely when I saw her at that party, I remember, instead of thinking, oh, there's that Frumpy Royal again, I thought, oh my God, she's so glamorous. She was just so glamorous. And I think she did sort of come out of her chrysalis a bit. And that's why I think it was so sad. I mean, it was so sad anyway, but she was just coming into her power, wasn't she, really?
Yeah, I think so, definitely. Because also in 97, she went to Angola and there's that really amazing shot of her walking through the landmines, which is also, she knows how to use a photo. Do you know what I mean? By this point, she's obviously had her photograph taken lots of times. That's quite tough.
Yeah.
It's really tough having your photograph taken a lot of times if you're not, especially if you're shy, like it seems like she was naturally. So she's had her photographs taken loads of times and she's learned how to kind of use the photographs a bit more. And so that shot of her in essentially a kind of white shirt and neutral trousers, but with the outfit on that says, I am walking through landmines, is a kind of another iconic, really strong look.
Yeah. Just looking at that photograph now, I think that she realised that the images of her were her power and she didn't really have to say very much. It was better actually when she didn't, wasn't it?
Yeah,
and I think as she went on and she was going through that phase in her life, she really was very, very good at using the media to get across, her passions and her point of view and the things that she cared about.
So, look, I wanted to ask you also just a little bit more about Alexander McQueen, because you touched on it. And one of the things that I remember about, I went to one McQueen show, I think, in the 90s. It was absolutely brilliant. And the reason why I liked it was because it was like going to a nightclub. So I blagged my way in. I just knew someone on the door. It was like a nightclub.
Can you remember which show it was?
No, I'm not fashiony enough to remember which show. But I mean, I remember it being like really impressive. It was in a big warehouse, you know. It was like a club.
Oh.
It was really fun.
Was it the one in King's Cross?
Yes, that sounds right, yeah.
Oh, I was in that.
Oh, is that you? You're modelling. How exciting.
Well, I was in a couple of them.
What did you wear?
I didn't really like modelling them. I thought it was really embarrassing, the whole thing. But he was really good at forcing us to do things, all his friends. I wore a orange, very, very sharply tailored suit with enormous shoulder pads. And it was printed with black birds. And I think the show was called The Birds.
That sounds right. Yeah, that's one I went to.
And we all had to walk along this. It was in a warehouse in King's Cross. I'd never been to King's Cross in my life. I was, an English country girl, and I was like, what the hell? But it was one of the most fun experiences of my life, because backstage when we would, first of all, he made all of our hair stick out miles like this. And then he made all of us wear these white contact lenses so that our eyes looked really strange. I was the only girl who couldn't get them in. So I actually had my own eyes, because I was like, whatever. Anyway, they all managed it. But we kind of walked round, and then once you'd done your look, I think we only had to wear one thing each, then you're in the backstage thing, and it was like this party. So it was the nightclub within the nightclub. And Alexander was just so funny and always sort of screaming and laughing and having great fun backstage, because once he'd sort of made the clothes and put them out there, he was just going to enjoy himself. And it was just a ball. And I remember him in that show, he made a white suit that became a sort of very iconic look, a completely plain white suit. And he wanted it to have a print on it that was looking like a tire print, right? He didn't have the money to create new fabric, whatever it was. Like, he had no money at all. And I just will never forget seeing him backstage. He took a tire, he rolled it in a pot of black paint, and then he rolled it across the front of the suit. And that was how he made it. And so it had this diagonal black tire print up it. And of course, it looked completely amazing. But that's what he did. He was just a real creative,
Yeah. And also, I just remember because I had, I wasn't a fashion person, but I worked for The Face, if you sort of mean. So, I never really went to high fashion do's, because that's not really our beat. But I remember going to that and thinking, this is just like a normal, it was like a club. That's what I felt like. So when you got in, I managed to get in, not a fashion person particularly, but very important people had not got in. And when they were in, they were really annoyed, because other people were sitting in the wrong places on the front row, and it was just exactly it just reminded me of any kind of decent nightclub where you managed to talk your way in.
That was his thing. He loved clubs and clubbing, and he all weekends and Fridays he was off with all his super hardcore clubbing gay friends, and that was a side of his social life that was completely separate from the fashion side. So he had one side which was Izzy Blow and all the posh girls who inspired him and all the cool girls and the whatever, and then he had another side that was these super hardcore East End nightclubs and all of that kind of stuff. But I think you were lucky to see that show, because I think that was a very important moment for him. And I think it might have been after that he got the job at Givenchy. I can't remember. Or when he started to become really known. It was that thing you're talking about. People were desperate to go to this show. And I think he'd only had about 3 shows by that point. And that sense of, oh my God, something's happening here. It's exciting.
Yeah. Yeah, it was really exciting. And I mean, I think it's quite interesting, because when I was when we were researching, for this, I was just looking at all the kind of Diana thing. And I did think, God, it's quite weird being a royal person, because you're existing actually outside fashion, because you have to, she may inspire fashion now, but she's completely outside fashion, because if you look at her, even with her kind of workout gear, she's got a big sweatshirt and little cycling shorts on. But that's not what anybody was wearing. Everyone was wearing small tops and big trousers. It's almost like the opposite of what everyone was wearing. It's so odd.
Yeah. And actually there's some, I in the Sloane Ranger handbook, which I highly recommend buying.
What will I learn, though?
Like,
can I ever be a Sloane Ranger? No, I can't.
No, but what you get from it is there's so many brilliant photos of Sloane Rangers in the 80s in it. And like they're highly coveted, these books. You have to kind of like bid for them on eBay and everything. But there are some pictures, I think, of her in there. And she's always wearing these things like, this is before her hair was really quite blonde. So her hair's kind of mousy and like a page boy cut. And she's wearing things like a green crepe de chine dress with a white bow tie and big giant polka dots, and then a green hat that matches with a white bow around it like a boater. And you just think, oh my God. And actually those things that were really, they were just so Sloane-y. They've become the things that 20, 30 years later inspired people like Bay Garnett and Katie Grand and stuff. And the people like Miu Miu are putting on the runway. I mean, it's really funny. And it was almost the ugliness of them that was then kind of subverted and twist. It was almost the squareness. It's just, I don't know, it's funny how fashion works like that. It's just a feeling sort of swirls around something and suddenly it's kind of interesting when it wasn't the first time, when everyone else was wearing that kind of thing, you know.
No, it was horrible, to be honest. Okay, so look, if you were going to pick a look that you like of Diana's, what would you pick?
Do you know what? I like her in her country clothes and like a tweed jacket and jeans.
That's because you're country, though, isn't it? You like the tweedies.
I like that. I like horses. I like tweeds. You know, I'm very Sloane-y at heart myself.
But only a particular type of Sloane, the country Sloane.
Country Sloane, not city Sloane. I have a bit of an allergy to a city Sloane because it just looks a bit wrong in town, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like any kind of tartan or herringbone tweed just shouldn't be seen on a pavement.
That's true.
Or anywhere near one. Yeah,
but I'm quite up for the white jeans and loafers.
Love the white jeans and loafers.
Yeah, I
love it.
We can all. That's a
and
classic.
Actually, I'm going to disagree with you about the belt because I like the belt because I think it elevates it.
If it's the right belt.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So what belt would we be wearing then with the white jeans and loafers?
Well, at the moment, you mean?
Just whenever. You know, please guide me.
Okay, so I've got a belt which I think is the best belt of the moment. If you want to know what it is.
Okay,
the belt of the moment, according to moi, is Christian Dior does a belt which is plain flat black leather, and it's just got a little gold CD, which almost looks like an egg with a split down it. So you can't really tell that it's a logo, but it is a logo. And you can get it in an off-white colour and a black colour, and you put it on any pair of jeans, and it looks like everything you're wearing is Christian Dior.
Oh, that's very clever. But I mean, nobody will believe I'd ever wear Christian Dior, so it doesn't really matter.
Oh, I think they would if you had this belt on, Miranda.
Okay,
I'll send you a picture of the belt. It's funny though, isn't it? Because white jeans, by the way, just side note, you know, were really, really, really good skinny white jeans until a bit ago, and then they just became too common.
It's difficult with fashion, isn't it? Whereas I would say ecru jeans, slightly baggier, fine.
Much better.
Thank you.
Better.
Thank you very much. That is my white jeans.
Yeah, but not
Motif.
too baggy, like not where it looks like two sacks.
No.
You know, where it's, you know, those like middle-aged ladies who go, oh my God, I mustn't wear skinny jeans because it makes me look old and out of date. So I'm going to go the other way and wear what my teenagers wear. And they walk around looking like they've got two elephant legs. And it's tragic.
Yeah,
tragic.
That's not good. Don't worry. I haven't got elephant legs. Here at Talk 90s to Me, like the lovely Diana, we are here for pop music. Of course we are. So we've got a rolling 1990s playlist, which we add to every week. It's called Talk 90s to Me. You can find it on Spotify. Plum. What is a 90s track that you would like to add to our playlist?
I would like to add Common People by Pulp, please, Miranda.
That is a classic. Why do you want to add it?
Have lots of people chosen it already? Because if they have, I can change my mind. Oh.
No, I think I mean, obviously it should be there. It's the jewel of the 90s crown. But why have you chosen it?
Because I think that the lyrics are absolutely hilarious. I think they're so funny. And it really speaks to fashion, especially the bit about, and she went to St. Martin's College.
It's funny that you're picking it, though, because it's like a working class anger anthem. and you're not working class or angry.
No, but he was, maybe. And he was in on the joke that it was silly for him to be angry about it. That's why the song is so funny. It's ironic and it's just very, very witty piece of writing. I think all his songs are witty. I think he's a brilliant writer.
He is a brilliant writer. I mean, it is actually absolutely the anthem of the 90s, although I would argue that it's not hilarious. The reason why it works is because there is sincerity in there.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. I thought it was all a joke, but, you know,
It's
you
fine.
and me, Miranda, that's fine. We're different. I think it's funny. You think it's sad.
Yeah.
There we are. It's okay.
Yeah. It's amazing what pop music can do.
I know. But also, I mean, the other thing is, Miranda, is that I do find most things funny in some way. I just see the funny side. So also with fashion, I just mostly see the funny side of it. I don't take it that seriously. I love it and enjoy it, but I don't take it that seriously.
Yeah.
And some of my American colleagues, oh my God, I mean, they take it so seriously. That's
just
a religion for them.
Americans. They don't have much of a sense of humour, do they, really?
Oh, I so disagree with that.
Well, the New York people do.
Have you heard of Seinfeld?
Yes, I was going to say New York people do, but, you know, some of the others.
Have you heard of Judd Apatow? Have you watched the studio, by the way?
I haven't, but apparently it's amazing.
With Seth Rogen. It's so funny. It's so funny.
I will watch it.
Okay, so I've proved my point. That's it. We can go home now.
Okay, fine. Okay, that was Talk 90s to Me, featuring the fantastic Plum Sykes, whose book, Wives Like Us, about the funny ins and outs of the ladies who lunch in the Cotswolds, is out right now. She also wrote Bergdorf Blondes, which is a huge bestseller, which captures the New York version of the fashion scene in the 1990s. Also, tell us about your Substack, Plum.
You're so funny, Miranda. I wrote Bergdorf Blondes in 2004.
Oh, but it's about the 90s, no? No.
No, not really, but that's okay. It's actually to be honest, all my books are about the same things, which is glamorous girls having fun.
Which is like perfect.
With a comic twist. And that was just the Park Avenue Princess. But my Substack is the same. It's just glamorous girls having fun. And I'm doing it on Substack, which is brilliant because I can just do it whenever I want and write whatever I want. And the first one that I put out on Substack was an article called My House Guests Ranked by House Gift.
Oh, that's great. I love it.
And honestly, some of my friends were like, either why aren't I on that list? Or what did I do wrong with the present that I brought? Why didn't I make it on? The readers absolutely loved it.
That's great. What is the name of your Substack?
Oh, it's PS by Plum Sykes.
Perfect. I think it's
all the delicious extras. You know.
It sounds ideal. Okay.
Yeah,
if you want more 90s nonsense, obviously, like Plum's moved on. She's moved on from the 90s. She cares not. I've written a book called Uncommon People, Britpop Beyond in 20 Songs, which you all know about by now. And Common People is in there. Of course it is. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram and Blue Sky and keep your eyes open for some 90s nonsense that you can contribute to. Thank you so much, Plum. Thank you, everybody. See you next time.